Hello and welcome to Progress Diary. Today I'll be speaking with a foremost party chieftain, a well-grounded party chieftain, and a former national secretary of the All Progressives Congress and president of Architect Waziri Bulama. Pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you, Abidat. Thanks.
So let's get to it. We'll be talking party politics first. A lot of people blame the All Progressives Congress for the present economic downturn the nation is experiencing. But what is the party doing to make life better for Nigerians?
Well, the point is, this government, is an APC elected government. And the things that, for instance, Nigerians are complaining about are the reform policies that the government embarked on inception, upon inauguration last year, and these policies are particularly those ones that had about three or so that had to do with the removal of fuel subsidy, the removal of the dual exchange rate, merger of the exchange rate of the dollar, and as well as increase in electricity tariffs. These were measures that the government, our government, felt necessary to stabilize, the polity, the economy, because the economy actually was struggling at the time, Asiwaju took over. And knowing that he is an accountant, he's well informed in financial matters, and even before he was sworn in, Nigerians had shown deep concern for the heavy borrowing, the country was relying on in order to fund their budget. So these reform measures, upon inauguration, actually, the president immediately announced that, look, we have to remove fuel subsidy and also merge, the exchange rate, so as to ensure that the economy does not collapse. It was to avoid a kind of Venezuela scenario or a Zimbabwe scenario where the currency would be so weak, or the economy would be difficult to manage, or will be overburdened with too much commitment to debts and debt service. So these were things that were done, very difficult decisions, but the government had to do it. But in order to ensure that the economy is kept afloat. And but then there are also raft of measures, knowing fully well that the impact of these measures had created serious cost of living. There has been a massive inflation, triggered, by these measures. And of course, for most Nigerians who are either, poor or on fixed wages and so on, the burden on them in terms of increase in food prices, in terms of increase in transport costs, has been very heavy. So the government has generated so many other, measures in order to lessen the cost, or the burden, on the shoulders of people. The president himself admits, and we all admit, that these measures have placed a great deal of burden on the limited resources of citizens, but we are working very hard, after stabilizing the economy, to ensure that the economy actually is conducive for people to live in.
I would like to take you back a little bit, which might be a place of little disagreement, because I think people tend to forget quickly, and that is during the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah.
A lot of economists, experts came out to say the administration then should float the naira.
Yes.
The administration then should completely remove subsidy.
Yeah.
Which are the two major things that this present administration of Bola Tinubu has done in obedience, I would say, to the economists then? What happened?
People were aware, for instance, with regards to the exchange rate, most people were aware that the allocation of foreign exchange to the economy is not done in a judicious way. It does. Dollars are not given to those who are in need, and it was a big source of concern that there are some people who don't need dollars for business, for importation or for manufacturing, who get these allocations and they turn around what they call round tripping and sell to others and make huge gains out of it. That was a huge concern. Economists have said, look, this should stop. The manufacturers and importers and so on have also complained a lot on this, and the government was finding it difficult, to fund these things. And secondly, the foreign exchange. Apart from that, the fuel subsidy issue was also a big issue under consideration. As you might have noted, all the presidential candidates had promised that they were going to remove, had pledged during the campaign that they are going to remove our fuel subsidy. Because the subsidy, because fuel was imported at a higher cost, but then it's sold in the country at affordable cost. So that difference in cost was absorbed by government. And quite a lot of Nigerians, economists and senior political leaders and so on felt that that was a waste. The government should rather use that money in infrastructure and other things that can, grow the economy and so on. So, but the point is, I don't think many Nigerians, really appreciated or understood what the implication of the removal of fuel subsidy, as well as the merger in the value of the dollar would mean on the cost of living. I don't think most people understood that, because suddenly, this thing triggered a very huge, inflation, or even the cost of fuel rising from 200 naira to nearly 100, 1,000 naira. It was never envisioned. It was never, people never felt it was going to be this high. But the most important thing, though, is that now that this has put this pressure on the cost of living, the government is alive to the situation and is struggling and working along, with all Nigerians to ensure that Nigerians can afford to live comfortably. That is the most important thing. But clearly, over the last, a year and a half, we've been struggling, to explain that, you see, why the president introduced these policies. But, there is a near unanimous, view that the way the president announced the subsidy was very sudden, and there wasn't sufficient public engagement, there wasn't sufficient communication and so on. These things have been there, and I think the government itself, had modestly agreed, with this public view. But they are rushing, with all sorts of policies to make sure that now that the hands of the government is very strong, now that the economy is stable now, to make sure that there is more inclusiveness in measures aimed at making the economy work for all Nigerians.
I'll take you to Edo State, the just concluded governorship election, where it saw your party come out victorious at that election, governor-elect Monday Okpebholo. One would imagine, with the present challenges in the country, how did your party came out victorious from that election? Or does it not reflect the true situation of things, or what Nigerians feel about the administration of the APC?
They say all politics, is local. What led to our victory in Edo State is the complete rejection of the leadership and style of leadership of Obaseki. Obaseki is very abrasive, is an individualistic, and because of that, even the PDP had fallen apart. So our party is united, and while the PDP was struggling, really, people were leaving the PDP, and the governor was having issues with all sorts of stakeholders in the state and so on. So our party had a very good, humble candidate. Our party also was united behind our candidate, and also our campaign was also very strong. Regardless of the cost of living that you're talking about and other things that Nigerians are grappling with at the moment. But our party was able to reach out to all the citizens, in all the polling units, in all the senatorial zones, and local governments, in Edo State, in all the three, senatorial zones in Edo State, to get close to the people and get the confidence of the citizens of Edo State to emerge victorious. So in the life of people, people consider a lot of factors in making their choices. So in the case of Edo State, while they appreciate, they know, of course, the high cost of living, but that was not the only factor or even the main factor that informed their choice. So we won the election fair and square, regardless. They trust our leaders. I mean, someone like Oshomole, who was all his life, he has remained a commoner and very close to people, and he always worked for people. So it was easy for the people of Edo State to start to support, to rally, behind leaders like Oshomole and all the key stakeholders in Edo State who were united around Opebolo, and we won the election.
Now we'll go to governance at national level. What is that quick policy or that quick solution that the government can adopt or explore to ensure that economic turnaround is quickly worked out, that Nigerians can even feel the impact or relief?
Well, at the moment, I believe, for instance, agriculture, which is the largest, employer of labor in the country, and which also produces the food we consume in the country, we'll be able to solve most of the problems of high cost of living in the country if we deploy or utilize all the potentials that are available. At the moment, of course, in most of these farmlands, in our rural areas, there is very serious threat of insecurity. But I believe that if we can plan ahead, I know this year the government had done a lot, for instance, in encouraging production of wheat, they distributed large volumes of fertilizer in the country and so on. But the point is, you see, I want a situation where farming is encouraged, at all levels. Farming does not even have to be in the rural area anymore. There are very many forms of farming, which, for instance, the First Lady had tried to encourage, your backyard or your veranda, where you can just plant some things and then grow for yourself, for your consumption. That will reduce your cost of living. Or the rural areas should also be opened up. The security, we should try to improve the security in the rural areas and generate credit, for and access to funds for farming. Civil servants and all people who are on fixed income should be encouraged to have 100,000, 200,000, 1 million, to go into farming as well. This would make food cheap and available, and also create a lot of employment in the country. And I think this is something that is achievable. And farming does not even have to be this rainy season farming, because you can do dry season farming. You can even farm using ordinary boreholes and so on. There are many rivers and stagnant waters and pools around the country. People can also get involved in other forms of farming, in livestock farming and so on. There are many activities within the livestock value chain: poultry, piggery, cows and small ruminants and so on. These are all things, you see, that does not need technology, does not need anything sophisticated. You see, people can be assisted and encouraged, to go into all these sorts of things. So there, all hands will be on deck. There would also get money. There would create more employment. There will also get food to eat. There would production will increase, and then the cost of living would also go down. Even now, you see, because of the excess, right now, because of the farming season and the harvest that have started coming up, the cost of foodstuff, the cost of bag of maize, bag of beans and so on, has started coming down. So you can easily see that this is something that is achievable within a short term, within a short time, and it is something that we can achieve, to make life easier for the citizens, So that, for instance, I want a situation where a lot of money that is spent on infrastructure, a lot of money that is spent on other big projects and so on. These monies fundamentally, are shifted, to give small loans to people, to engage in farming and trading and other things, to encourage, people in productive activities. This will really help to have a sense of, inclusion, a sense of that, look, government is working for them, government is working with them. That too is also very important. Because at the moment, one of the things that is making Nigerians very angry is that the government is working for government in Nigeria works for some few, while the middle class have continued to diminish, the poor are helpless. So we have to have a situation where either that this privilege that we see, the top brass are, enjoying, either curtailed, or the policies, the budget is restructured and reframed to make sure that the middle class, people who are graduates and on fixed income all over, whose income cannot, really maintain them, they should also be assisted to engage in something productive. The rural areas should also be, farmers should be assisted to produce more.
Very well, agriculture. So I'll take you to social welfare and security. So despite the growing economic concerns, insecurity has remained a threat and a challenge that has continued to confront the country. It makes one seem as if the APC has failed in its promise of eliminating all of these threats that pose serious threat to national security and the safeguarding of the country's sovereignty.
Quite a lot, has been done, to curtail, banditry and all sorts of lawlessness, in the country. The country is very vast, and the reason why there are spots of violence and bandits, pockets of bandits and so on, across the country is well known. But at the moment, there is a stepped up effort under this government, led by the National Security Advisor, and there is a determined effort by all the security chiefs to bring this to reduce the threat, of insecurity in the country. There's a near unanimous consensus is that this stepped-up effort is bearing fruit, and that most, bandit leaders and kingpins are being, eliminated. Their hideouts are being, flushed out from their, hideouts and so on. So it's a work in progress, but there is intensified effort to do that. So there is improvement, marked improvement from where we were, a year ago, 2 years ago, compared to now. So organized crime, you understand, by bandits and all these criminals and so on, as well as, fuel theft or the unknown government and so on, this is reducing, as you might have noticed too. In the last couple of months, these things have really, come down, and they are also continuously being diminished and degraded.
Now, to youth inclusion, President Bola Tinubu announced on October 1st during its Independence Day speech. He says there will be a youth confab that would last for 30 days to solely for the youth. Do you think this will give the youth a sense of belonging, or what does that confab? What does it hope to achieve?
I believe so. The issue of women inclusion and as well as youth inclusion, they are part of the 2 points of the 8-point renewed hope agenda. And a confab of that nature, would be able to bring all youth in the country together. It will bring government and the youth close together. It will be an opportunity for enlightening and communicating and placing before the youth various programs and policies that are available in government and within the economy as a whole that is not utilized. I believe, for instance, the financial sector would also be, especially the banks and development banks and the conventional banks, would all be encouraged to also key in because there are many opportunities in these banks which have not been sufficiently utilized by Nigerian youth. And the youth are the most productive and the active sector of the population. And I believe this is a very good opportunity to bridge a very massive communication gap between the youth and citizens generally and the government. I believe it's a very good, welcome policy.
Very well, we'll be rounding up now, but I'm going to ask you lastly, the hot gist in Nigeria for the past how many weeks now is the fact that the government is looking at the cabinet reshuffle. What should be the APC's participation or stake in this reshuffle if it is going to happen anyway? And do you think the government should come on board with new hands, or some certain persons that are there presently should be moved to different places?
Well, I believe the public mood and expectation, suggests some kind of renewal, in the cabinet, so as to boost, the activities of the government. Initially, when the president came, and he was received with a great deal of euphoria, and his policies, received a great deal of support. But as you can see, down the line, there seems to be a very big communication gap between the government and the citizens. We are struggling, really, to justify the policies and the programs of the government. So it's like there is need to inject some kind of, ideas, into the way things are managed, by our government. I don't know what role the party will play, but the thing is, the government has already created this office of headed by Hadiza Balau Suman, to assess the performance of the ministers and the different programs, and their impact on the country and so on. But clearly, the public is expecting injection of new blood, injection of new, ideas, review of policies, so as to ensure that the public's feelings are carried along. So the government also made commitments and made pledges that they are going to also, it's something that is anticipated, something that is impending and so on. So I believe it is something that will be welcomed by Nigerians, by our party, by Nigerians, and also all our stakeholders in the country.
As a party chieftain, do you think the party is due for a NEC meeting?
Well, the meetings are constitutional provisions in the APC constitution. There are several organs, of the party, from the National Convention, of course, to the National Caucus, to the National Executive Committee, and so on. I believe the party should encourage, constant meetings as enshrined in our constitution, and get, review, its performances, review its programs and review its activities, and continuously get reports, and these reports are taken to NEC for consideration. The party should be a working organization. It should not be a moribund organization that only comes alive during elections. The party should be a living organization. It should be the ultimate goal is to ensure that the party is autonomous, the party is independent, the party has strong systems, corporate systems and structures and processes. What people expect is kind of the party to be institutionalized and autonomous. The party should be driven by a certain ideology or certain beliefs that the party, is committed to certain ways of managing the economy, the polity, as well as the society, socially, politically, socially, and economically in certain ways. We should be unique and distinct, from other parties. This is our calling. This is what we promised to Nigerians in 2013 when we came together. because Nigerians, rejected the idea of, the abuse of human rights, impunity, godfatherism, and other, undemocratic practices. So that was what led us to form the APC. And upon forming the APC, on the promise of, more democracy, more freedoms for Nigerians, were elected into power, and we've been elected 3 times now. So we should be in the forefront of promoting democracy. And democracy at our own level, at the level of the party, is where the promotion of the consolidation and strengthening of democracy should start. So the party should not just call for NEC meeting. No, the party should have regular NEC meeting and other meetings, zonal meetings, state meetings, local government meetings, ward meetings, and even polling unit meetings. Because we have a polling unit structure. The importance of the polling unit is that you win or lose election at the polling unit. In our constitution, we have a polling unit committee, and this one should be revived. And if the party is functioning, our government will not be able to struggling to explain things to Nigerians. Because, for instance, the party has over 200,000 publicity secretaries. Because there are over 200,000 polling units in the country. The party has, 8,823, ward publicity secretaries, 774 local government publicity secretaries, 23 state publicity secretaries, and then the national publicity secretary. The party should use all these avenues. The government and the party should work together so that the party's untapped potential be used to promote its programs and activities.
A very wonderful place to live in. It's been an interesting discussion talking about national governance and party activities. I've been speaking with the former party chieftain and the former national secretary of the All Progressives Congress in person of architect Waziri Bulama. Thank you for watching.